everyone. Mrs. Christman here. If you saw my last video, then you know that one of the things I'm going to be doing for you guys is reading a chapter book that I just bought recently. This chapter book is called Amina's Voice, and so it's about this young girl who is just starting to go into middle school, just like a lot of you will be doing pretty soon, with a beautiful singing voice, and she has to go through some trials in her life. So today I'm just going to start off by reading the first couple of chapters. As you see, I'm nice and cozy on my couch here. This is my favorite place to read a book. I've got my hot mug of tea here. This mug, Mrs. Gillespie actually gave me for my birthday last year, so it's a very special mug. I've got my favorite blanket here that I made. I've even got a cat here hanging out with me. So we're going to get started. I'm going to start reading this book with you guys. Let me put my tea down. All right. This is Amina's Voice by Hannah Khan. Chapter 1. Something sharp pokes me in the rib. You should totally sign up for a solo, Soo Jin whispers from the seat behind me in music class. I shake my head. The mere thought of singing in front of a crowd makes my stomach twist into knots. But you're such a good singer, Soo Jin insists. I pause, enjoying the praise for a second. Soo Jin is the only one at school who knows I can sing, and she thinks I'm amazing at it. Every Tuesday we argue about the best contestant on The Voice and who deserves to advance to the next round. I can count on Soo Jin to end the conversation by saying that I'm better than most of the people on the show and that I deserve to be on it someday. But what she doesn't consider is that if by some miracle I was standing in front of the judges and live studio audience, I wouldn't be able to croak out a word. I shake my head again. Come on, Amina, just try it. Soo Jin is a little louder now. Girls, is that chatter about you volunteering? Miss Holly stares at us from the front of the classroom with her eyebrows raised. Ouch! I yell. It's Soo Jin's pencil in my side again. Is that a yes, Amina? Should I sign you up for a solo for the concert? Miss Holly asks. How about one of the Motown pieces from the 1970s? I sink lower into my chair as everyone stares at me and I stumble over my words. No, thank you. I'll just stay in the chorus, I finally manage to mutter. Okay, Miss Holly shrugs, a frown clouding her face, until Julie Zawacki, waving her hand like an over-enthusiastic first grader, distracts her. Julie always wants the spotlight and tends to sing extremely loudly. It's as if she thinks volume makes up for her lack of pitch. I always wonder how the math class next door gets any work done whenever Julie starts belting, but I still wish I had even half the guts she does. Remember, we've only got 2 months to prepare for the winter choral concert. This is a big deal, guys, Miss Holly calls out as the bell rings and we file out for lunch. I can't believe you didn't sign up, Soo Jin complains, as we sit down at what has already become our usual spot in the lunchroom 3 weeks into the school year. This is your big chance to finally show everyone what you've been hiding. I'm pretty sure that was what Adam, the judge with sleeve tattoos, said to the tall red-headed girl on The Voice last Sunday night, and I tell her that. I'm serious, Soo Jin says. It's time to forget about John Hancock. Just the mention of that name brings back the memories I've tried to block since 2nd grade. Our class play about American independence. I was John Hancock, and I was supposed to say the one line, I will proudly sign my name in big letters. But when it came time for the performance, I looked out into the audience, saw the sea of faces, and froze. There was this endless moment when the world grew still and waited for me to speak. But I couldn't open my mouth. My teacher, Mr. Silver, finally jumped in and said my line for me, and with a joke about how John Hancock had lost his voice, but was going to sign his name extra big to make up for it. The audience laughed, and the show went on, while I burned with humiliation. I can still hear Luke and his friend jeering at me from the side of the stage. That was forever ago. We're in sixth grade now. You need to get over it. Soo Jin sighs as if my entire middle school future depends on performing a solo in Miss Holly's Blast from the Past production. I don't let her see how much I agree with her and how badly I want the spot. Anyway, do you think I look like a Heidi? She continues. I have a mouthful of sandwich and stare at her as I chew, relieved that she's changed the subject. I try to imagine her with a name I associate with Swiss cartoon characters or a famous supermodel, not my 12-year-old Korean best friend. Not really, I finally say after swallowing. Why? What about Jessica? Do I look like a Jessica? Soo Jin picks carrots out of an overstuffed sandwich wrapped in white deli paper. No, what are you talking about? I got it. Soo Jin sits back and crosses her arms. She's hardly reassembled her sandwich, and it's already half gone. No one I know eats as fast as Soo Jin. It's one of the many ways we are opposites. I can't ever finish my lunch, no matter how hard I try. What? Melanie. I totally feel like a Melanie. I love that name. Soo Jin flips her long black hair off her shoulder and acts like she is meeting me for the first time. Hi, I'm Melanie. What's wrong with you? Are you feeling okay? Soo Jin pretends to pout. Just tell me, who do you think I look like? Soo Jin, I say slowly. I put the other half of my sandwich back into my bag and pull mini pretzels out. You look exactly like Soo Jin. Soo Jin sighs again extra loudly, just like she does when her younger sister pesters us to play with her. It seems like I'm getting that sigh more and more lately, ever since the start of middle school. That's because you've always known me as Soo Jin, Amina. Yeah, that's my point. What's your point? I hear a familiar face behind me and turn around. A small blonde girl is carrying a cafeteria tray and a jumbo metal water bottle with the words, I am not plastic on it. Emily. Her green eyes and tiny nose remind me of my next door neighbor's bad-tempered cat, Smokey. Nothing, I say. I wait for her to keep walking to the other side of the lunchroom, where she always sits with Julie and her crew. What are you guys talking about? She asks. I wait for Soo Jin to answer, expecting her to say something to send Emily scurrying. Even though the cat gets my tongue when either Emily or Julie come prowling, Soo Jin never has any problem telling them exactly what she thinks. But Soo Jin just says, I'm thinking of new names for myself. New names? That's weird. Why? Emily starts a stream of questions, and as much as I want Emily to leave, I want to hear the answers. It's not weird at all, actually. My family and I are becoming citizens soon, and I'm going to change my name. Wait, so that means you're not even American? Emily sounds offended. What? I ask. There is no way I heard Soo Jin right. Change your name? For what for? Soo Jin smooths her hair, sips some fizzy juice, and takes a deep breath. We moved from Korea when I was 4, and we aren't American citizens yet. But we are about to be, and I'm going to change my name. I just haven't picked one yet. Oh, I have the perfect name for you, Emily volunteers. She plops down her tray on the table and smiles like she is about to spill a juicy secret. Fiona, she says. Fiona, I snort, as in the green ogre girl from the Shrek movies? No, Fiona, as in my uncle's Scottish girlfriend. She's totally pretty. I flash Soo Jin a look, but she doesn't notice. Instead, she actually seems to be pondering the name as if it's a possibility. An ogre name, suggested by Emily. And then Emily suddenly starts to shove herself into the space next to me. I don't move at first, but when she's nearly in my lap and Soo Jin still doesn't say anything, I scoot over to make just enough room for her. Then I lean across the table and stare hard at Soo Jin. Why is Emily sitting with us? Ever since before Soo Jin moved to Greendale from New York in 3rd grade, Emily has worked extremely hard to be Julie's best friend. Mama would say Emily was Julie's chamchi, which means spoon in Urdu. That doesn't make a lot of sense, except that it also means suck up. And Emily has always sucked up to Julie, even if that means laughing really hard at her dumb jokes or chiming in when she puts everyone else down. And by everyone else, I mean mostly Soo Jin and me. Fiona, Soo Jin repeats. That's kind of nice. Do you like it? Emily asks me. Not, I don't know, I stammer. Do you seriously think she looks like a Fiona? Duh, she can look like anybody she wants, can't she? Emily turns back to Soo Jin. My face grows hot. Don't you like being Soo Jin? I asked my best friend, in a low voice, leaning across the table to make it harder for Emily to hear. You've been Soo Jin your whole life. Aren't you used to it? I want to add that we had always been the only kids in elementary school with names that everyone stumbled over. That is, until Olayinka came along in 5th grade. It's always been one of our things. Really, Amina? I thought you at least would understand what it's like to have people mess up your name every day. Soo Jin lets out her sigh again. And this time, it feels like I deserve it, even though I don't know why. Mama told me once that she picked my name thinking it would be the easiest of all the ones on her list for people in America to pronounce. But she was wrong. The neighbor with the creepy cat still calls me Amelia after living next door for 5 years. And my last name? Forget about it. I could barely pronounce Kokar myself until I was at least 8. And since I don't want to embarrass anyone by correcting them more than once, I just let them say my name any way they want. Soo Jin is the only one at school who gets it. Whenever a substitute teacher pauses during roll call and asks, how do you say your name, dear? I don't even have to look at her to know she's rolling her eyes. We still collapse into giggling fits if one of us mentions the lady who called me anemia, as in the blood disorder. But now, all of a sudden, Soo Jin wants to be a Fiona or a Heidi? Does it have something to do with being in middle school? What other names do you like? Emily asks. She's so interested in the conversation that she hasn't touched the limp grilled cheese sandwich on her tray yet. I lean back and chew my pretzels while Soo Jin repeats her other choices to Emily. Ooh, I like Melanie too, Emily says. As I watch them chat, the lunchroom starts to feel like someone's cranked up the heat. My palms get sweaty and I feel super thirsty, and not just from the pretzels. I look around and find Julie sitting at her usual table, talking with a couple of new girls from another elementary school. She doesn't seem to even notice that Emily is missing. I don't say another word until Emily gets up to put her tray away and go to the bathroom before the bell rings. Soo Jin's a pretty name too, I say in as normal a voice as I can, and I'm not just saying it because I'm used to it. I want to add that I can't imagine calling Soo Jin any of those other names, and that it would feel like I was talking to an imposter, but I don't. It doesn't seem like Soo Jin wants to hear that. Thanks, Soo Jin's face softens. You know, a lot of Korean people have 2 names, a Korean one and an English one. Yeah, but you didn't have another name before, so why do you want one now? I always wished I had a different name. Besides, my whole family is picking new ones. Soo Jin's dad already goes by George, and her mom is Mary, so their names would just become official after they take the oath to become citizens. I call them Mr. and Mrs. Park anyway, since my parents never let me call any grown-ups by their first name. Everyone is auntie or uncle or Mr. and Mrs., but Soo Jin taking on a new name just doesn't seem right. Can I still call you Soo Jin? I asked after swallowing hard to clear the lump that has formed in my throat. I want everyone to use my new name and get used to it in middle school so it's normal when we get to high school. It would be messed up if my own best friend didn't do it. Soo Jin peers into my face expectantly. You will, right? Yeah, I will, I promise, although I cross my toes inside my shoes. I decide I will call her Soo Jin for as long as possible. The knots tighten in my stomach again, turning the half sandwich, 7 mini pretzels, and 3 bites of cookie sitting inside. I watch Soo Jin put her empty containers back in her lunch bag, looking for a clue to why she's acting so bizarre. Because even though I can't explain why, Something about Soo Jin wanting to drop her name makes me worry that I might be next. That's the end of chapter 1. I'm going to stop there for today. Next video, I will read chapter 2 and maybe chapter 3, depending on how long it takes to get through chapter 2. I hope you join me next time for our next chapter.